Good evening, guys. Hope everyone is well on this beautiful Wednesday evening. My name is Fabrice, and this is the Amateur Football YouTube channel. And I have some, I'm not going to call them guests. This is these two people. I literally refer them. I literally kind of refer to them as the football circle. So at the top, you have Jamal Hahn, who's a grassroots guru who knows everything about grassroots. And again, a very knowledgeable guy. And you know what? Whatever he says, he actually stands by. So thank you, Jamal, for coming on. And I have the urban teacher, who's a businessman, investor. He kind of looks at not only businesses and kind of people's financial strengths, but he can also forecast exactly where like money could be gained and lost. And again, this is a big subject that we're kind of talking about. So again, urban teacher, thank you also for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So let's go straight into it. So the ESL, the European Super League, and it's been a crazy 48 hours. And I think people who are kind of watching this already know exactly what like this league consists of. As from today, we've heard that this league is no more. However, I think this is still a great talking point. I will literally let Jamal and Mark literally kind of talk about the league and literally if they're for or like against it. And what kind of teams and players and fans can actually do, and also as well, like we might even touch upon the Champions League. I'd say, expanding the Champions League. So again, please get your comments, get your questions in, and I'm sure Jamal and Mark will be able to answer anything that you guys want answering. So let's start with Mark. So Mark, were you for or against the ESL?
So, from looking at the original proposal, I think I was against it because of the time that it had been proposed, in terms of, really unannounced. A lot of the managers weren't aware of the proposal, who were in the golden numbers. And I just think that, we've seen over the years a lot of money being injected into Premier League football. This would definitely further entrench the inequalities that we face at the lower league and grassroots football that I'll kind of explore more on. But from looking at what the proposal was, it seems now that it was mainly the people that, manage the money within the organization. And that's just wrong, right? And you've seen the power of fans, you've seen the power of pundits and ex-footballers get involved, and look, within 48 hours the decision's been overturned, which is the right decision, I think, at this stage. But let me just stop there for now and obviously give Jamal the floor. But there are some complexities to this, in the sense that Premier League teams never ever, have an issue when they're signing the big TV rights and contracts deals. And, the government and the Football Association promised the trickle-down economics, which I've been reading about, the trickle-down economics that I'll share more on. But Jamal, over to you.
Yeah, let me express my clear disappointment in the big six clubs for trying to own something and then backing down. I think they probably should have never either released the Super League news or shouldn't have done it. Once you announce it, you have to. Imagine that. Imagine if I announced that the London Cups are going to continue and then I cancel them. Oh man. These clubs, I see more than enough of a business, a corporate, and an economics reason as to why they would want the Super League. It's clear and evident to me. I don't know why it's not clear and evident to others. once you announce you're gonna do something, you have to do it. I cannot. It's just so poorly handled. I understand a lot of people who are against the Super League aren't necessarily against it. They're more against how it was done. How can you be running it and then your own manager doesn't know that you've decided to enter something? What's going on here? Now, for Super League, I think the Super League being or collapsing is a big opportunity missed. Huge opportunity missed. And I understand my view might be unpopular. I wish I can come out and say, oh, I'm not here to make friends. That isn't true. I'm definitely not here to make enemies. I'm just telling you how I see it. And people see it as greed. I disagree, but I understand. But it's another word. It starts with the same letters. It's not about greed. It's about growth. A lot of these football clubs are now businesses aren't making profits. Okay, you might be a football fan. You might be a season ticket holder of a Big Six club, but newsflash, your club isn't making money. They're earning revenue. They aren't making profit. And the ones who are have huge debts to pay back on the stadium, like Spurs, aren't making money. Someone like Daniel Levy had no choice but to consider something like this. Seriously, they had to do something. They had to consider something like this. And before I give the floor back, you have 14 clubs completely leeching off of 6 clubs. Completely leeching. There's local fans in England, which I understand this is your league. One of my co-workers referred to as legacy fans, people who were part of a generation or connected to a family that helped build certain clubs like Liverpool and Manchester United, so on and so forth. But being a global fan like myself, sometimes you fly back home, different time zone, Saturday, midday kickoff, that's 7 o'clock where I'm from, 4 o'clock in other time zones in the same country where I'm from. Sometimes I forget, I'm back home visiting family. Sometimes I wake up, I forget, midday kickoff. Oh, who's playing? I get up, I turn the TV on, who's playing? Burnley Southampton's playing. Go back to bed. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that. You can be honest and say, oh, I love the game. And I love Burnley. I want to see how Tarkovsky and Ben Mee, defend, or I want to see James Ward-Prowse free kicks. Fine. That's fantastic. Sometimes I want to see it. That's what Match of the Day is for. A lot of people think they're football fans. They're barely just about Premier League fans. A lot of people think they're Premier League fans. They're just Big Six fans. Nobody wants to watch these games. Okay, and that's why they wanted to create a Super League, and I understand that.
Okay, Mark.
I think that's a bit harsh. I think football in different regions around the UK mean a lot to different people, right? In terms of people have been with their team from relegation to promotion, and seen a lot in terms of following their teams through that transition. And we've seen it today. I was looking at some of the press statements by some of the clubs, and they did acknowledge that the fan bases, even though we say that football is not making lots of money now, but the fan base is powerful, because sometimes with them not being in the stands and now all of them being at home and on social media and voicing their views on this current thing. Look, it's changed. And some of them actually gone outside stadiums and, protested and, got their voices heard. So, power to the people in this case. But one of the things that I'm really concerned with is this pyramid. We've always spoken about, the bigger teams, the Premier League teams, being able to trickle down that wealth that they have accumulated to the lower leagues and the grassroots football. That has not happened. And it hasn't happened at the rate we would want to see. Now, due to this pandemic, I don't know if you lot have been aware, but there's been a report that came out. Let me see if I can recite the report. The report was around evidence of the impact of COVID-19 on grassroots football. And this report was done last year. You can Google it to find out, the synopsis. But let me just quickly highlight a few of the points. It says the trickle-down economy, despite the widespread rejection of trickle-down economy, these remain the belief that with football authorities that the accumulation of wealth at the top of the professional will naturally permeate down to the grassroots game. This flawed thinking has failed to arrest the decline of grassroots game in these times of plenty. The real prospects of recession in football does not anger well for the rest of the football ecosystem. Intervention is needed to protect the grassroots game, and as the lifeblood of football, we propose the introduction of 5% levy on broadcasting rights on the EPL to distribute to the grassroots. We're not seeing enough of this trickle-down economy happen in the lower leagues. Now, even though we might be talking about the Super League and having a brand new league, it still doesn't equate to the balance of the rest of the football game. So even though we've got Premier League fans ranting and raving, they're a bit of a hypocrite because of the lower leagues have been calling for the change for a long time, and we're not seeing that. And that's one of my concerns, in the sense that, is this just another flashpan moment? Or are we going to have a real change now where, you know, amateur football gets a real voice within this space with the stuff that we're trying to do as grassroots representative? Will we get a voice in this space?
I mean, Mark and Mark and Jamal, I'm literally, and again, I'll be honest with you, I'm literally on the fence about the whole thing, because of course, when I kind of first heard like the news, I mean, I couldn't believe it. And when you kind of look at football in its purest form, you are kind of literally kind of talking about teams on a equal pegging, looking to either win a league or, of course, this kind of feeling of relegation and, this kind of feeling of passion and competition. And, I just feel that this European Super League wasn't going to provide that. Yes, we'll be seeing like the best players and the kind of best teams playing each other, but it'd be more like an exhibition game, more than anything else. But also as well, exactly what Mark said very, eloquently. We were promised a lot with this Premier League. We were kind of promised, money, in League Two, League One, even at grassroots level. And we've all been at certain facilities, and you think, wow, we've all been to Clapham Common, we've all been to Wandsworth Common. We've kind of, literally all, been to certain grounds, and you think, well, our kind of local clubs, our local pro clubs, the FA, do they really give a damn about us fans? Do they really give a damn about, protecting like the grassroots game? And would this new league give us hope with kind of all of this money that's being spoken about? We're like talking billions now. So it's a it's a kind of funny feeling. And now with the so-called collapse, it's again, it's really still up for debate, because again, Jamal is, has been very honest and kind of, very upfront in terms of how he kind of feels. And I can imagine that there's probably some other people that actually feel the same. But again, Jamal, I'm not going to ask you the question regarding, if this kind of European Super League did actually happen. I mean, this kind of non-relegation promotion method or process. I mean, that's what football is about, isn't it? That's what we kind of love about the game.
Oh man, nothing in particular what you said, but just some of the debates I've been having. Obviously, I didn't even make my view clear on Twitter or social media. All I said was, shutting it down. It's the speed of the reaction that I have. I feel like people didn't even try to look into the format of the Super League, try to look into what it will look like, and then after a week, then reacted the way they did. I would be completely fine. It was like instant, like within not even an hour. People instantly, no, can't happen, no, not my club. What about the rest of the clubs? It's just like, oh, you haven't even had a chance to digest it. And all I put on Twitter was, you haven't even given it a chance to, not to run, but just to at least just to discuss it a little bit. And then, like I said, people always speak about certain, Clapham Common, these kind of grounds. If there was a Premier League in Clapham, or even in Lambeth, a Premier League club, then they probably would give back to Clapham. Why don't certain companies give back to the local community, or don't give back more to the local community? It's mostly because they aren't earning enough money, or they're in an industry that's so competitive, it's difficult for them to spare that money. So if so's the case, a lot of people who operate within grassroots or close to grassroots, ref, play, coach, and grassroots understand that. So then why would you be against the Super League? Why would you be against the Super League? We're dealing with a whole different level type of money. You're talking about Middle Eastern money. You're talking about JP Morgan Chase kind of money. It's a complete different level of things. I just don't understand. People have missed the opportunity of what that meant to grassroots. That is a huge opportunity to miss. Irrespective of that, though, clubs trying to do this and not telling their managers, not even sending an email to the season ticket holders, dropping this out of nowhere, basically, because it did come almost out of nowhere. That I will never stand for. I might be for the Super League or for some sort of change, but I fully stand behind any club that don't like the way it was communicated. I would never support that. How Jurgen Klopp didn't know, unless Jurgen's lying, how a guy takes your club to the Champions League final 2 seasons in a row, wins you your first league title in my whole lifetime, and then you can't have a Teams meeting, you can't have a Zoom meeting, you can't have a phone call and say, yo, we're thinking about this, then he has to go in front of the media and be the spokesperson and make that decision of, do I lie or do I just tell the truth and go against my employers? That I will never stand for. So I'm making myself clear. But if the aim is to make something more exciting, to make something more competitive, to make and for trickle down economics or multiplier effect economics, whichever phrase you prefer to use, why would you want the clubs making less money? It just doesn't make any sense.
Mark.
So I think what the problem here is around, football is entertainment, and I get that. And having the best teams playing is going to bring a lot of revenue, more excitement, more people tuning in from around the world. That's why I think they tried to change the Premier League playing times, and Klopp was arguing about it in terms of teams playing in the morning. So, I think it's Asia or the US can see footballers play and so forth to raise the revenue. I get all of that. Money, football football is becoming a money game. But what we've seen over the last couple of days is that you cannot football is still belonging to the fans, and it still belongs to those local communities. And whether we like it or not, whether we want to see great football, you still got to, one, appreciate the communities and fans within those spaces. Now, what this has done in a good way, I think, is opened up the conversation. It's opened up a conversation. And one thing I'm really excited about, and what I've really seen, is that a lot of the fan-based football channels have now, like the main media has tapped into them. They're going to them. They're not even going to the old footballers no more. I've seen a lot of fan-based channels now appearing on national TV, which is raising the profile of us. But one of the things, what I'm concerned about, and as I will always stick to, is that there is hypocrisy. And, even one of the footballers said that, listen, we're getting so amped up about the Super League, but what about the other challenges we face in football around racism, around the inequalities, around some of the things that we've been experiencing across the whole game? The Football League is so slow to move on those issues, but when it's issues to affect their bottom line and their pocket, man, they've come out with full force. You've seen the government trying to bring in super laws. You've seen the UEFA saying, or some of the football associations saying, listen, we're not going to let these footballers play in the World Cup or play in some of the other tournaments around the world. So look how quickly football can move when their bottom line or their pockets are going to be pinched. But for the other issues that affect us as a country and as a nation, they're slow to move on.
Yeah, listen, I didn't even know the name of the UEFA president until the Super League happen. So irrespective of all the racism, especially with something as high profile as the Glenn Kamara Slavia Prague incident, Rangers Slavia Prague, I didn't even know the name of the UEFA president. But yet the second his competitions get challenged, that's when it comes out. And then one other thing I would like to address is, and I'm just telling you how I see things. I've never heard more this week saying, "Oh, football is about the fans." Since when has the Premier League been about fans? Are people serious? Do you have no idea how much money I have to pay for Sky each month and BT? I don't even want to say it on air. It's almost embarrassing. I moved to this country dying to see Premier League. You know how many games I went to? Couldn't get a ticket. Stuck outside. My parents come to visit. I go watch Spurs Man City. Big Six match, by the way. Anyways, £268 for the three of us.
No, what you're saying is absolutely great.
Because about the fans. Since when is football? Premier League has not been about the fans for a long time. So I don't know what people are speaking about.
Jamal, you're absolutely right. Look at lockdown when they tried to, put on the pay tickets.
Pay per view. You think they're Floyd Mayweather? I mean, I get the whole thing about legacy fans. That was good social education for me. It was great to see the fans, the Chelsea fans, the Liverpool fans fighting back and saying football is about the fans, or I think they mean to say football is supposed to be about the fans. But once again, you haven't thought about the big picture. Super League comes in, more money. They probably offer more games. Probably not. They probably offer more games for free. They probably cut down ticket prices. They might cut down audience prices. You haven't even given it a chance.
Jamal, you're missing a point. You're missing a big point here. Yes, it looks, the packaging looks great. The promise looks great. Yeah, but it's the ecosystem. It's not just, you're just thinking about the glitz and glam at the top. Football is an ecosystem. There's more than just the Premier League. There is things that happen behind the Premier League. That's why this thing couldn't go ahead. Because even if the bottom team didn't complain, the government's got involved. The Minister for Sports has got involved.
You're right.
Listen, they've even created a task force group to put something in place. So what you're saying is just the tip of the iceberg, and see what's under the ocean to see what the bigger.
Okay, I can tell you what's under the ocean. I can tell you what's under the ocean. 14 clubs who know that their money is going to be significantly reduced because nobody globally, on a whole, not many people outside their town, city, or village want to watch them play. That's why. So the ecosystem is definitely a parasitic ecosystem. They're feeding off of the Big Six. Now, I don't know. I've lived in several different countries. I'm telling you now, people love the Premier League, but people don't usually want to watch what is now being referred to as the lower 14 clubs. People do not want to watch them. They only want to watch them primarily when they're playing a Big Six club, or if it's an FA Cup match, or people do not want to watch these games. They have to make a sacrifice, and you don't go to that birthday party. You don't go out shopping. You don't go to the beach or something because you need to go and watch Sheffield United and West Brom. People don't want to watch these games.
Jamal, I think
Spencer's saying one thing. Spencer's saying some things out here, even though he's being quite harsh on me. I hear what he's saying, and he's making some good points. Even though I disagree with him, doesn't mean he's not making good points. But I don't think the 14 clubs would necessarily go out of business. It would potentially take its toll. It would cause an adjustment. But West Ham, Everton, Newcastle, those layer of clubs who are just below that Big Six in terms of stature, in terms of the money of their ownership and the size of their fan base, an opportunity that Super League could have provided. What an opportunity for them to actually win more trophies or be more competitive. I know it's in the wrong way because you'd want those teams to be able to compete against the Big Six by elevating themselves, not the Big Six sort of dropping down. But what an opportunity. I still feel as if people didn't take enough time. I'm happy with the reaction because I love to see people protesting for what they believe in. I have all the respect for the Chelsea fans that sat down in Fulham Broadway. It's just proof how much it means to them. All I'm saying is I would have respected that reaction if it was just a few days later after they've had time to really think about it. Clearly, Mark has thought about it. Clearly, Mark Steer thought about it. Clearly, Spencer Grady's thought about it. you know. But some people were speaking so negatively about the Super League, literally 20 minutes after it was released. You cannot make a decision on something that complex that quickly.
Mark.
I just think that, Jamal, that, you know, in hindsight, yes, we want to see the best football teams playing. But I think what you've done, and this might be your blind spot, is that the lower league teams or the teams in the Premiership that sometimes, you know, have just come up through promotion or been in the Premiership, we would have missed out on that story around Leicester. What Leicester done a couple of years ago, where, you know, they just come into the Premiership and
It's
they
true, Jamal. Come on now, stop laughing.
And you know that transcended football. That gave hope to the normal person walking down the street to say that I can take on anything in this world.
No, it didn't.
No, you know what? You know what?
Cute. Let's just try to run this cute.
Okay,
it's like Blackbird tried to run when we were young.
But that's our culture. That's the British culture. We love those types of success stories and giving people chances.
So how do you think it would have been if Spurs had to win 4 matches in a row and they had to beat Milan, Juventus, and Real Madrid twice? Wouldn't that be a Cinderella story, as we call it?
No, because literally it's a PR game. Like there's like no relegation. So these like players who are kind of playing against, you know, PSG or Real Madrid or whoever it is, there's like no consequence for them to lose. Like, you know,
wait. There's no relegation now though. For the Big Six, Arsenal are having the worst season since we've all been alive. But they're like 20 points above the relegation zone. There's no relegation for the Big Six. I hear what you're saying. There's no relegation for them.
No, but you know what? There is a possibility that they could get relegated. That's the thing. You know,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But there isn't a possibility. It isn't.
Okay, so all right. Okay, so and again, I've like got to play devil's advocate here. And again, I'd kind of Jamal or Mark can let you guys answer this one. So if like the Big Six did actually go into this Super League or whatever, where would that put all of these Big Six academy players who are probably on the fringe of kind of getting into like the first team, and now playing in this league? Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think that I don't think these like type of players will even get a chance, because exactly what you said before, Jamal. Like no one wants to see, and again, there's no disrespect, someone like one of like the Arsenal youngsters play against Mbappe. So literally, what will happen to those youngsters at like at those academies?
If I was a 15-year-old right now, anywhere between 15 and 18 in a Big Six academy, I would be so upset that the Super League collapsed.
Really?
I thought at first the Super League was going to replace the Premier League. Then when they, the next day when it came out, they want to do it alongside the Premier League. When you are an academy player, and trust me, I know, I've been there. When you are an academy player trying to do that transition from junior to senior football, the one thing you want is more games. More games means more opportunity to shine, more opportunity for those who are better than you to play poorly and for them to get injured. So this would have meant more games. They would have been using the Premier League the way they use Premier League 2 now. And I know because I officiate that level. So I would have been so upset. The thing that you always want when you're struggling to get into the first team, you want more games. Fewer games is not in your remit. Of course, just because I disagree with you doesn't mean you don't raise a good point. Of course, that bar gets raised. And I know some people who've been through that. You sign a scholar for a club, they're in League One. By the time you finish scholar, they're in the Premier League. So trying to break into the first team at League One, which is difficult, but a little bit more easier, you now have to get in the Premier League. So you're at a Big Six academy, you're trying to get yourself good enough to play against Aston Villa and West Brom or Sheffield United. Now you got to get ready to play against Dybala and Mbappe. Of course, that's a very, very good point. If the Super League was going to replace the Premier League, if they were going to play alongside the Premier League, you're actually stunting those academy kids' possibilities.
Cool. And Mark, now, well, everyone said that this kind of ESL league has now collapsed. I mean, again, you kind of knowing kind of more about the kind of financial side. How much money do you think has been lost now, and literally, what's the kind of financial, implication to like those like teams, and can also like the trickle down from like grassroots, if any?
Yeah, good question. So I think that it was forecast that these football teams would have gotten to the region of 250 to 500 million pounds with the sign up and rollout of games, and they would have signed a contract for 23 years. So that would have made sure that those teams wouldn't have got relegated from the Super League, and that would have brought financial stability to a lot of these clubs. And I agree partly with what Jamal's saying around, teams need more money. It's like, players are demanding more. They want to do newer things with their clubs in terms of reach, in terms of engagement and so forth. And, that money would have been sufficient in terms of that leveling up and taking football to the next new heights. But as we've seen, and as we've clearly stated, that football is an ecosystem. It's much more than just pumping money into a club, which you can do. Look at some of the top 5 teams now. Look how much millions of pounds have been spent in the last probably 10 to 15 years. And then when we look at the whole financial health of football, it is a concern. It is a concern. I worry about the homegrown talent. Now, I would say that, over the years, looking at that England youngster, like the under 21s, and now the England squad, the youngsters coming through, that's some of the best youngsters I've seen in a long time. And that's due to the, some of the academies that's been put into place, some of the nurturing and development. That will go down all the pan if you get in the top 6 teams, picking the best players and having to be pressured to pick the best players because they don't have time to nurture or, guide that homegrown talent coming through. So obviously we'd see a lack of that. And, we might have a brain drain or a talent drain where young people feel that the UK is not the place for them to start their football career. So we lose all that talent in other places around the world. So that's a major concern. But getting back more to the financial and balance sheets, we know that a lot of teams are struggling. So I don't know whether in the next year or two, some of the top star players out of these big teams will be leaving because teams won't be able to either compete with their salary due to the COVID and due to lockdown. So I think the Super League kind of showed the cracks, how desperate a lot of these clubs were to really bypass the managers, bypass the fans and go straight to the board directors. And it was all the board directors that signed them off, basically. That's why you had FSG from Liverpool today come out of a massive apology to say that it was all me. It was nothing to do with my backroom team. It was nothing to do with my staff. It was all me. So he kind of, fell on the sword or fell on the hill, or he died on the hill that he kind of made for himself in the last couple of days. But the money, let's focus on the squilla or the cushion. Listen, folks. I can pull up reports. We have to be, as grassroots people and as people in lower leagues, we have to be looking at what government is pushing. And I want to pull back into that report about match fees and pitch fees. Like renting out pitch fees for grassroots. It's ridiculous how much grassroots have to pay to rent public spaces. And then a lot of the public spaces have been built on now because of new flats and living and housing. And we know that the country is suffering from a health crisis in terms of obesity, in terms of mental health, and especially coming out of this pandemic. So it would have been ideal. Imagine if the Super League said, listen, half of this wealth or some of that trickle-down economy is directly going to go into the pocket of grassroots football. I think that we a lot more people would have been for it. But where it was all about big money for big players, maintaining that status, it alienated a lot of people, and especially people that have invested their whole life into these clubs.
Jamal, I'd kind of like you to respond to Mark's point, which was a very valid point regarding the kind of under 21 England setup and literally nurturing the kind of next generation for not only England but for other countries. You know, don't you think going like into this big European Super League would have really kind of damaged England's hopes and other countries' hopes in terms of breeding like next generation of world class players?
No way. Super League would have been better for that also. Super League would be better for that on two fronts. One, the players who are already capable of playing at that level, like the up and coming English talent that this country has to be excited about, from Mason Mount to Grealish to Bukayo Saka. I mean, you'd want them playing against the world's elite. You'd want Emile Smith-Rowe. You would want Tammy Abraham exposed to playing against the world's elite. And you're looking at, I suppose, what fits the best would be, I guess, because of Spurs and Arsenal, we have to focus on them the most. There's having that difficulty getting into the top four to play Champions League. Super League is a great way to sort of, and you could say from a competitive standpoint, allowing them to get the status in the wrong way. You shouldn't be able to buy your way into that tournament. You should have to compete to get into that. And I'm for the Super League, but I understand there was a good, strong list of cons why people don't like it. I get it. Trust me, I get it. This is not perfect. I just feel it's a little better than what we have now. So I think exposing those people to those talent is what's necessary. Some of the arguments that I've heard against the Super League were, oh yeah, what about the Jude Bellinghams and those type of kids? How are they going to get the opportunity? Jude Bellingham didn't play for a Big Six club, and he still got to one of the biggest clubs in the world. The people are acting like you can't get bought by a Super League team. You still would have been able to. So, and then also, if we did have a lower 14 just left and the Big Six went to the Super League and then they promoted 6 more teams for the championship and created this new look Premier League, I felt it would have been really interesting for those kids to either get put on loan to those sort of clubs or to know what it's like to play for Everton or West Ham while they're fighting for the Premier League title. I just feel like it would have given more opportunities in two different ways. Number one, you're exposing your current young elite, bright future stars to play them against the world's elite now. And then those kids who need a little bit more development to get to that standard, they'd have more opportunities to do so in the Premier League. So once again, I feel like those opportunities they aren't necessary because those kids are still getting created. So England are still creating enough talent that they are creating enough talent.
Jamal, I think I understand Jamal. I think he's got his head in the clouds a bit. And I think he might have some shares in the Super League, or he's got some investment. Because I've never seen in the last in the last 72 hours, you're speaking better than the guys who actually promote the Super League.
True. That's true.
You might have some real shares in this. Like
I'll tell you this.
You might be that hidden millionaire program that we used to see on Channel 4. Secret millionaire. He's talking in the grass of lower leagues, but actually part of the Super League continuum. So you're starting to scare me out.
Well, I mean, you know what? Actually, before Jamal answers that, and I'm going to literally put something out there because to be fair, Jamal has said even at grassroots level, certain things have to be changed regarding the league structure. So hey, you know what? Jamal's been calling this even before this announcement. So Jamal is definitely for change, and you know what? I can honestly, I can see where he's going, because again, as a content creator, and literally I've got to look at this as a content creator. Hey, I can say for, I can say against, I can kind of sit on the fence. If let's say Liverpool, that's my team. Liverpool, whatever, and said, you know what, look, we kind want to fly you out to Malaysia or America, or literally just come to Liverpool and look at what this European Super League will do for the city, and we're gonna pay you this amount. I'm going. If I'm for or against, I think I would also have to document it and be impartial, but hey, that it is an opportunity for football creators. It's kind of a, it's a kind of opportunity for grassroots content creators. I will literally say, okay, cool, Liverpool want me to go. Take me to the streets. Take me to where you're going to be pumping this like money to. I'm not going to say no. So we kind of have to look at, like, as kind of content creators anyway. It's kind of very easy for like myself or other like channels, just to kind of, stamp our feet and say no, we are against it, or like we're for it. Like, there's, we kind of really have to think long and hard, again, the implications, why the announcement was kind of said, and why it's being kind of rebunked now, etc. But yeah, sorry, Jamal, carry on.
Well, I just feel as if why I feel is a big opportunity missed. I have to work with professional clubs on a regular basis, and I just feel as if with this newfound money, the best time to go to a major corporation and ask for any kind of support, whether it be media support, marketing support, financial support, is when the money is flowing in. New investment, share prices going up. It's just media companies being offered. That's the best time. And it's difficult. It's difficult to get support from a club when they have to spend 80%, 70% of their income in salaries and wages, and have to spend so much in transfers just to finish 6th or 7th. Arsenal just spent £70 million for Pepe just to play in the Europa League. It's difficult, the amount of investment these people have to make for what is mediocrity, or failure even. I just feel as if our London clubs come into some newfound money where they're actually earning profits 2-3 seasons in a row, healthy profits, it would have been so much easier to say, can you sponsor the London Cup? We are having issues with pitch fees. Can you sponsor 25 grand so the teams in your borough don't have to pay pitch fees for a month? Can you help us with funding a new 3G pitch? This is what I mean. Some of the people who are protesting against the Super League, and yes, it wasn't explainable enough, because if it was, and if they saw things the way I did, it may have just delayed that protest a little bit. Or they would have said, wait, what? You would have built a 3G park? Because I think we will, until we get 2, 3, 4 3G parks, like what Arsenal helped to develop in Islington at Market Road, where you have 2 11-a-side pitches and 3 5-a-side pitches. If something like that, if something like that could have been offered, people don't understand. That's what I was hoping for. And once the Super League got collapsed in 2-3 days, I'm like, it's gone. There it is, it's gone. Our 3G park is gone. 8 pitch 3G, 8 11-a-side 3G pitches, 4G pitches. It's gone now, all gone. Sponsorship gone. Subsidized match fee, pitch fees gone. Referee courses, coaching courses, subsidized, all gone. All gone, because you think football is about the fans. You think it's about greed and not growth. You think it's about lack of competition. I don't want to hear nothing about, there's no promotion and relegation. Big Six are currently exempt from relegation.
They're not exempt. Like,
of the Big Six being relegated.
No,
you think because it's possible? Because there's no possibility of it.
You know what? Like, no, hey, like, I see what you're saying, but it's the possibility that they can get relegated. We keep saying Newcastle, and again, I don't know Newcastle financially, but they are well supported in Asia. They are a big club, and hey, Newcastle could be relegated. So
yeah, well, they have been before. West Ham have been before.
West Ham, yeah. So like,
those are the biggest clubs in Premier League history who've been. But if we're talking about the Big Six, I understand what people are saying. Yeah, they can. Yeah, but I can go to Tabrice's house and punch you in the face. I can do it, but I'm never gonna do that. It doesn't make any sense. It's not possible. Arsenal, this is the worst Arsenal team I've ever seen. Look how far they are from relegation. They're not even close to relegation. It's not possible. So they're thinking we're never going to get relegated anyway. So we might as well go into a situation where we can't get relegated. There's no real change if they went to the Super League with no relegation. You know, the promotion being cut off is a better argument. But we can't speak. These big six clubs will never get relegated. Never. You know, I just feel as if there was a multitude of opportunities missed that could have, may not have, but could have trickled down to grassroots, that could have benefited the fans in cheaper tickets or subsidized travel, because they would have to be going to Europe on the continent more often. There were some possibilities, and it all got shut down in the space of 40.
Jamal,
Seriously.
The thing is that the narrative. I think I can understand a little bit of your narrative, but it's a very dangerous narrative that you're leading against, in the sense that the Super League would have been the answer because of, you know, the injection of money, the more exposure to, you know, focusing on a particular range of teams. But what I've always kind of advocated for at grassroots football is about equity, about equality, and making sure that those inequalities that we're seeing now don't become wider. And whether we like it or not, that Super League would have definitely made those inequalities and the equity that we have as a community and as people that are interested in the game of football at our level, it would have become out of reach. I wouldn't be surprised.
Great point.
I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of these, you know, people give up. People would just give up emotionally. If this had happened, a lot of that grassroots would just give up, because, you know, it's dire as it currently stands. And imagine that equity and those inequalities further dividing us from actually even being a part of this football ecosystem.
And that's a great point.
Yeah, it's true. And literally, James Osborne has literally said, you know, I think if they would have led with reinvesting into communities and pitches and really kind of had a proper manifesto about that, I think a lot of people would have said, okay, you know what? Let's hear more, rather than kind of, you know, again, kind of talk about like the money that they like could be earning and the big six in Italy. It just puts people off. You know, it really rubs people's backs the wrong way.
Yeah, no, obviously, Mark, both of you already covered it. Because a lot of people aren't in my position, they didn't see it the way I did. If you were in my position, you would have. And then, yes, I have sold the Super League a lot better than they have already in 47 minutes or whatever. And if it was sold in this way, may have been the same outcome, but at least it would have been had a little bit more of a delay to where we could all come together as a football community and make a conscious decision to politely decline. But it's just where it is. It's difficult for me to see as a huge opportunity missed. Economics. I studied economics. First thing you walk through the door, professor sits us all down and says, first rule in economics: money is more important than people. In regards to industry, there is no industry in the world. Check the petroleum industry, the fast food industry, the supermarket industry. There is no industry in the world where there'll be 20 businesses in the same industry and 14 businesses were financially benefiting from 6, and the 6 stay in that industry or stay in that industry alone. Instantly, they would diversify their portfolio, use their advantages to either join other industries to where they can become profitable. You know, no different than supermarkets. One supermarket starts selling petrol. Before you know it, Sainsbury's has a petrol station. Tesco has a petrol station. You know, because you know if you're in that sort of in that sort of industry, you've got to compete. But these 14 clubs are mostly benefiting from the Big Six. And the Big Six, I'm not necessarily agreeing with that, but the Big Six, if you were a director or owner of a Big Six club, you're like, why are we benefiting from these clubs? These clubs aren't even on our level, and they aren't. You're in the same division, but you're never they're nowhere near your level. They'll never win a title. They'll probably never get to the Champions League. If they do, it'll be a one-off. The year after, they won't get back. Leicester will win the title, will never win it again. You know, these teams are not, from a business standpoint, are nowhere near the Big Six's level. Why would they want to stay in it? And then now the issue I have is more about a freedom of choice. They wanted to leave. They got punched in the face by the court of public opinion, which is the most dangerous court there is. And now it's like they're stuck in it. They can't leave if they want to. You're denying choice. Those things make me feel uncomfortable. I'm proud of the football community because they fought against what they didn't like. Maybe the way things are might be for the best. Mark brings a great point about equity and equality, but when the rich get richer, the poor don't always get poorer. Sometimes when the rich get richer, they create more jobs. Okay, just sometimes, not all the time. But
First of all,
huge opportunity missed. Huge opportunity missed.
Jamal, I think first of all, that business studies teacher that taught you know, he taught you wrong. It's the people, my friend. Even, you know, you most companies will have a passion for the people before the money. I'll tell you that for free.
No, you took me wrong. Sorry, you took me wrong. What I meant was that's to justify why they did what they did, because the money is more important than the fans to them. That's why. I'm not saying it's okay.
I think in this, as I said before, and I think this really needs to be really taken seriously, in the sense that football is an ecosystem. So a lot of those clubs that you might see that are not competing with the top 6 or top 10 or whatever, you know, they've set up things for their communities, food banks during COVID, and foundations and all of this kind of stuff by competing in the Premier League, and, you know, giving fans a hope. And as we've seen in over the years, whether it's Leicester or Blackburns of the day or the other teams that have won the league and done really well, they've given those community hope, and they've supported those communities. So to now withdraw them outside of a league, I just don't think that would have went well for anybody. So that thing where you're saying it's about the top 6 just making more money, I doubt it, because what's happening now, even though I still have a problem, because a lot of the Premiership clubs have set up foundations and have done amazing work in their communities. But some of those foundations were set up not to give it to grassroots. So that's another kind of complexity to the problem.
I just think if for someone like you who has a clear understanding of some pretty complex business and economic models, I just can't understand then why you couldn't see, not what I'm assuming a little bit, but why you couldn't see even clearer the potential benefits of the Super League. You know, of course, the only potential, because we'll probably never know now, but I do think the Super League will happen probably way down the line. But, you know, it's the potential benefits, the amount of jobs lost, I feel. The amount of
wasn't that the argument? I don't know, but know the Super Cup, when you win the Champions League Cup, you get through to another cup and you get to play with the best teams in the world. And so that hasn't impacted no one. That's just a waste of time. Everyone's just hoping that the top players don't get injured to come back into the real league.
Yeah, but that's not a real competition.
You know, that's the top.
That's not a real competition.
That's the creme. But that's the creme de la creme, in the sense that that's all the teams that have won in their division.
Yeah.
So
that's why the Champions League is flawed, because if you had nothing but champions in it, the competition would be weaker. You know, because you can't have the champion of San Marino. That's not fair. Finishing 4th in the Premier League is much more difficult. But there's huge opportunities missed.
Yeah. And you know, we may touch on the kind of Champions League expansion some other time, but you know what? Let's kind of go with final thoughts. Jamal, let's kind of start with you.
I just think when you look back at the Super League, you should be thinking a few things. 1, greed versus growth. And 2, the court of public opinion. Do not play around with the fans. And 3, it is potentially a huge opportunity missed.
Mark?
I think this is a golden moment for grassroots football, amateur, what you're doing with your platform, to really be a voice in this space now, to really challenge the Premiership teams, whether it's through social media, through getting a campaign together, to really say that, listen, you know, we have seen over the years this trickle-down economy hasn't worked. And look how irate the Premier League's teams were going to become, because they were going to be left out of this, you know, this honeypot or this money pot, they would say. And, you know, the future for me has to be done through the lower leagues and the grassroots. And that's where we are. Let's be 100%. That's where a lot of ethnic minorities are. That's where a lot of communities need this. And I think that there's a real opportunity now to open up the dialogue in terms of how we get more support in this space and how we kind of raise that representation that we want to see.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on. And again, I'm sure this is not going to be the last we're going to hear about this. Exactly what Marcus said. This is like, open up crazy amounts of dialogue, and exactly what Jamal said. Let's probably step back and literally kind of look at the bigger picture. This could be a great opportunity for like certain people outside of the kind of top six. Let's kind of hope that certain things trickle down to the people that actually need it. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for all of the comments. Please like and subscribe. If you kind of want to find Jamal Horn on Instagram, again, just Google his name and he will come up. Same thing with Urban Teacher. They've got a wealth of knowledge, not only in football, but in business and investment. My name has been Tabrice. This is the Amateur Football YouTube channel. Have a wonderful Wednesday, and I'll see you guys real soon.
Thank you.